I think we can all agree that Trump's cabinet is made up of a bunch of incompetent fucking bootlicking losers. For instance, Marco Rubio, or Little Marco rather. He every night jerks off to the idea that one day US will militarily liberate Cuba. Then we got RFK Jr., Mr. A Worm Ate My Brain, and I'm also on so much TRT, I'm turning into a fucking lizard. And how could anybody forget Tulsi Gabbard, right? The grift extraordinaire. She's so principled that she's against every single US foreign intervention. Unless it's done by Trump, of course. That being said, if we're just measuring pure intelligence, like who has the lowest IQ, I think all these people pale in comparison to one particular person in this group. This individual is so fucking stupid and devoid of any real substance, it literally blows your mind. Of course, I'm talking about the head of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. If you're unfamiliar with her work, let me just quickly show you the kind of intellectual heavyweight we're dealing with here. For context, this was a Senate hearing that Kristi Noem appeared in a few months ago.
So Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Okay, so the senator here is asking her a very simple question. What is habeas corpus? And we all know that habeas corpus is part of due process, which is a constitutional right afforded to all Americans. To put it in simple terms, what that means is that if the US government wants to lock you up, it has to be able to legally justify your imprisonment before a judge. It can't just detain you indefinitely without giving you a trial. It's a well-known concept that kids in America learn in fucking high school. But let's see what Kristi Noem thinks habeas corpus is.
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country.
This fucking dumbass thinks that habeas corpus is a constitutional right of the president to remove illegal immigrants. Like, I can't even make this shit up. She's the head of Homeland Security. She's putting up hundreds of people in front of judges for potential deportation every single day, and she doesn't fucking know what habeas corpus means. Now that I've given you a little taste of the brilliance of Kristi Noem, let's transition to this video I actually want to focus on today. So this was a press conference in wake of the ICE shooting in Minneapolis.
The facts of the matter is he's an experienced officer. He's been in situations like this before, and he certainly has been out there and followed his training today.
Oh, the officer followed his training, didn't he? So is shooting an unarmed American citizen in the fucking face part of the training you're referring to?
The threat of vehicle encounters. Are you going to change the way ICE agents?
You know, people need to stop using their vehicles as weapons.
Are you going to change the
This
training for
domestic
officers
act
to
of
help
terrorism
them
to
face
use your
This fucker has the audacity to say that the woman who got shot and killed by ICE, in this case, was a domestic terrorist. Not the ICE officer who shot her. He's like an American fucking hero in the eyes of Kristi Noem, but the woman who actually died from being shot by ICE, she's a terrorist.
Your vehicle to try to kill law enforcement officers is going to stop. And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism because it's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained and told how to use their vehicles to impede law enforcement operations and then to run over anybody who gets in there.
She did not run over anybody, you fucking idiot. Let's take a look at this fucking video and see if anybody got run over by this woman. First of all, let's look at this great training on display here. This dumbass literally is standing in front of the vehicle. Everybody in law enforcement knows that you're not supposed to be standing in front of a vehicle because that's the most vulnerable position you can be in. You should always step to the side of the vehicle. So even if the driver wants to run you over, it's not going to be easy to do. You can take a look at these three keyframes, one for each shot. So when the first shot was fired, you can clearly see the officer was standing to the left of the vehicle. He was no longer in front at this point. And then when the second shot was fired, you can see here, right here, you can clearly see that the vehicle was trying to turn to the right because the woman was trying to leave the scene. If she intended to run the officer over, she would have cranked the steering wheel to the left, not to the right. And lastly, we got the third shot, which is the most evil one in my opinion, because you can see in this frame, the vehicle almost already drove past the officer, so it was no longer any like danger to the officer at this point, but he shot again. This was literally shot to kill. So please tell me, where in this video did the officer get run over by the car? Please. I don't know how anybody could watch this video and say they didn't just witness a fucking murder. And by the way, this was her fucking glove box. Does it look like the car of a terrorist to you?